Yeah, I was going to just respond quickly to Petra, if I can, about what some of the things that she talks about. Petra, are you familiar with the works of Nigel Kerner, Kerner, Grey Aliens and the Harvesting of Human Souls? He's a British author, and Linda and I have spent time talking with him, and I've spent time talking with him with another author, a friend of mine called Jane Williams. The ideas that you have floated about the control or the attempts of control of the soul are well known. However, I have to say this isn't again, it's not the aspect of all contactees. It has been brought forward, and the soul is very important in a lot of this. I was just working on the case of the Argentine footballer. I don't know if you remember or if any of you know about this case. The Argentinian footballer, I think, is Guillermo Marino, and he missed training when he was playing for Chile under the excuse that he was abducted or kidnapped by aliens. Of course, it was treated a bit lightly in the media, but he actually says that his abductions were taking him away for 2 days at a time, and that they take away your soul and analyze it. So he talks about that. Linda Moulton Howe as well has talked about what she calls the soul transfer technology with a famous contactee that she worked with in the 1990s called Linda Porter. So, you know, these are cases where the soul seems to be something that we have as a species, and it is of great interest to extraterrestrials, or at least certain types of extraterrestrials.
I would, I would support that. But there's a difference between the soul transplant. I mean, that's sort of taking all you are and transplanting it to another body. There's a lot of information on that. Yeah. But when they are able to disconnect yourself, your physical self, and your etheric self from the soul's input, and connect it to let's say the Zetas hive mind, that's different again. That's you're lost. Basically you're lost, and your body and who you are is.
I understand what you're saying. I understand the distinction there, in that there may be some way that there's certainly the theory that that the disconnection of ourselves from our soul, or from our soul's source or connection with let's say the Akashic side, or the historical reincarnation abilities, etc., would make us into a compliant species without that connection. To lose it, to cut the tie. Finally, I had these discussions as well with David Jacobs in California in 2016, and I remember him saying to me, "It's planetary acquisition, Ian. It's planetary acquisition." Well, we talked as well about the ability of extraterrestrials to, let's say, make us more of a compliant species, which is what they were familiar with in their planet. And I'm not saying it's every extraterrestrial race, because Jeff, for example, provides a lot of evidence that these are different extraterrestrials to the ones that a lot of the contactees who've talked to David Jacobs, Bud Hopkins, and John Mack, and a lot of the other researchers have talked to. And that's what I find fascinating as well. And that's why it's so important to look at the larger picture than just some. But of course, I'm not discounting any of these theories, because there is good evidence for all of them, but not for one single theory.
Yeah. But I would say, how do you know that what is behind these Greys who are acting like, oh, we want to help us and everything? How do we know their full intent here? I mean, it's not. Well, what they're doing, even though they're being nice and helpful and everything, it's not in line with our purpose here and also universal law, you know.
No, but you can always say
they could just be acting that way, you know.
Of course, as Jacques Vallée says, messengers of deception. That's it. As Whitley Strieber says about the master of the key, he says, "How do I know that you are who you say you are? This man of great age and great wisdom. How do I know that you are not a machine?" And the master of the key turns to Whitley Strieber and says, "If I was a machine, I would lie to you. I would deceive you." So this is the whole crux of it as well. Can we trust what we're being told? Does anything ever good come out of it? Etc. To break it down to those fine points. Many people have positive experiences from their extraterrestrial experiences, or let's say experiences with other beings, whether they be from the ETH, the extraterrestrial hypothesis, or from interdimensionals, or wherever they're from. But there are also a lot of people who would say, no, we don't have anything positive come from it. Nothing that they've said has come true for us. But then again, we have many people on the other side who will say, yes, they're offering us a better future, as Whitley Strieber says, and Colonel Corso said. They asked the Greys, what they could offer us, and the Greys told Colonel Corso, a better world if you can take it. And that again chimes in.
They don't need to offer us anything. We have a purpose here to evolve, you know, because, you know, all this prime directive here is to keep this from happening. There's been, you know, this has happened many times. They've come in, you know, so we have a purpose to evolve ourselves, we do. You know, and there are high beings that will respect that and will inspire us and everything and not intervene. But when you get this degree of intervention for helping us, you got to question it. Like, and you look at even Susie Hansen with you know, her dual soul kind of thing. I mean, that's that's halfway there with a soul matrix transplant, you know, and the way she got into this, you know, she says, well, you know, in my evolving soul, I was given a choice to have to be a sponge in some you know a world that's in line with her soul's purpose, or she could be what she's doing now here. And so I think given two choices, and one of them was to be a sponge. So this is not something, you know, they're manipulating this all the way, you know.
I agree. It does seem as well that a lot of it is manipulating. As Grant Cameron says, the aliens control the situation. In every UFO encounter, in every alien encounter, there seems to be a control factor. And the control factor is that the ETs control the situation. They have the higher technology. They have the edge on us. However, a lot of this from my own research is based upon permissions sought and agreements made and agreements accepted. A lot of abductees and contactees will tell us that the Greys and other races will only be able to act if they elicit your approval and your acceptance.
Absolutely, because we have this protection mechanism. We have to give the agreement for.
Of course, yes, we do.
So, they will create an illusion, you know, like, you know, they tried with holographic inserts. These Marian apparitions where, you know, the Greys were behind it, and they tried to create this illusion that we're, you know, to get people to go with, you know, Mother Mary and all this stuff. You know, this is what they're able to do, you know. And
I mean, yes, I know, but and again, it's the same sort of thing that has been done by humans through, you know, or through perhaps through alien beings, through human proxies, through time, as a control factor for things, as Brian will talk about, the elites, etc. So many people will tell us about there being an elite bloodline, an elite control, and therefore, if there's an elite control, who are the puppet masters who are holding those masters above us? There's a hierarchy and there's an agreement and permission sought. Very often when I'm interviewing contactees and abductees, I will get to the point when we realize that they have been asked for permission for something, and an agreement has been sought, not necessarily always given, but it always seems to get down to this very fine point that nothing can be taken for granted, and that there may be agreements made on a soul level even before birth.
Dave actually has his hand up here, but I appreciate, Petra. This is what we're going to come more in the future of these talks. We should have more. We're going to have more differences of view, because if we actually say it's a goal, for absolute goal for humanity to join a federation of planets, then there's going to be a majority of human beings that are going to be against that. So I'm in favor of free speech. We don't censor free speech, not on this platform. So there's going to be more people like you, Petra. But it's a very good conversation. But yeah, Dave is next. He had the electronic put up his hand in the Zoom chat there.
I just want to ask a question. Can we almost all agree that that all these entities are working at some level in some type of collusion, and potentially they are working with some human beings on this planet? Can we all agree with that, or it's not even it's not a statement? Of course,
I agree with that. What do you guys think?
No, I don't think they're all on the, in collusion with each other. I mean, there are separate agendas.
yeah, but they are.
Yes, there's a lot of collusion between, the elites and the corresponding ET races, but it's not like all the ETs are part of the same.
No. But at the very least, they have to. Where I'm going with this is, if they're in collusion to some degree, at some caliber, or at some level, then they would have to have some kind of communication among them, and if that includes human beings, they would be communicating at the lowest denominator, which would be a human being. So where am I going with that is, they would strategically have to use technology that is at our level. Now, with that said, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's technology that all of us are privy to, but then again, it could actually mean that it is technology that we're privy to. We just don't see it, or we're not receptive to it.
I believe that the whole technology thing is a red herring. They don't need technology. They have some technology, they have AI, but it's always subservient. It's like it just facilitates their own consciousness processes. We have this great, belief and desire and everything for technology. It's not true,
Well, no, I'm not disagreeing with that, Petra. But if they're in collusion and they have to communicate with the lowest denominator, which is human beings, they would have to be communicating with us with a technology at our level. And the reason why I say that is because any military that has to work with another military, they won't use their best technology. They'll use the worst technology they have. So that way there's no risk of the other foreign enemy discovering what they're using. So they have to be at our level.
I think an example of that is Dan Sherman. He was trained to be this intuitive communicator by the U.S. military when the Greys were allowed to do all these abductions, and the military wanted to keep track of it to some extent. So he was trained to communicate with the Greys, and he was able to ask them these really interesting questions that he didn't have to report. So that does happen. But also you have like even Brian quoted this with Robert Wiegand. He's able to see spirit, and he's able to see how the controllers. I mean, we don't know for sure they're the Dracos, but it seems likely. There could be another race even, but they're controlling the Committee of 300. I mean, they sort of come in as humans, but everyone knows that's not their true form. But I mean, this happens all the time, and we're just, it's not part of our reality. So there's different ways that communication can happen, right?
I'm not saying that that's not possibly happening, but what I'm saying is, if you need to, any kind of organization that requires day-to-day tasking to be achieved and fulfilled, you need day-to-day communication. You need comms, you know,
Well,
and
yeah, but
have comms to establish comms.
You get the reptilians to, you know, once you're, well, sorry, uh, the Luciferians. Once you accept that reality, you know, then you lose. You're them basically. You're acting on their purpose, and so like Bill Gates, I don't know how often he connects with with his control, but you know, he's already aligned. He's perfectly aligned with their agenda. You know, so these things happen in different ways. I think, you know.
Yeah, I think we're I think it's we're undersimplifying this with regards to the way they would communicate, because like if we identify one or two or three or four or maybe even 10 human beings that can communicate with them because they're evolved at a psychic level, okay, but if they've been here for so many years, 50, 60, 70 years, they're going to need something a little bit more conducive to something organized, that they can have that two-way channel on a daily basis, and you couldn't depend on 10, 20 people. You would need a form of communication that's more long-lasting, more robust, but at the same time, I'm just going to keep backpedaling here to say, for you to establish something like that, you would need something that was at the lowest denominator. It would be at our levels, something that's almost in clear view, but it's masquerade as something else. And what we use to communicate across our planet is, as everybody knows, it would be radio frequencies. And me, I can't say it's a theory based off previous explanation, but I will go as far as saying a hypothesis is, if, even though I'm not an alien or any of that, but if I was in that situation on the other end, I would actually use something in an RF signal to communicate between all those agencies and all those groups of entities at the lowest denominator.